Check 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1.
Thank you, sir. You have no idea how high I can fly.
Think I do.
Oh, better be a lot. If we're high.
It's pretty high. Don't worry.
I don't know if we've met that way.
No, I'm a new reporter. My name's Tommy.
Connie, nice
Yes,
to meet you.
nice to meet you.
Tito and then Tommy.
Ais.
Ais.
Close.
Perfect. Nice to meet you.
You as well.
Good. It's good to see everybody.
On him after.
And you're Mackenzie, right?
I am.
Nice to meet you. I'm Tommy.
Nice to meet you.
Awesome.
When did you start?
A few months ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
You like it?
Yes, I love it. I'm from Iowa,
Okay.
so this was like a big
Yeah.
jump for me.
Awesome.
Yeah. Are you from there yet?
No, I'm from Michigan.
Okay. Florida?
Yeah.
Nice. We still got the water.
Yes, I do.
You love the beach?
Love the beach, but can't find that here.
I went to Ocean City for the first time the other day.
Yeah.
With
So
Bo.
fun.
Oh my gosh. Every 5 seconds I was like,
fun.
this is so cool.
I love it.
There she is.
What are you guys doing here? Hello. Hi.
They said we can't trust Rebecca, so
Thank
I'll need you guys to go.
Why?
You chance if you ask any questions.
Okay.
She's like, is that true?
Why are you on? This one. Why are you doing that? Just I have to ask questions for my story tomorrow. Oh. And maybe ones for today.
This is a nice view.
It is. Do you have any? Well, don't let me forget. I'll just send Zoom link for 12:30 when we get back to the car.
Hey Siri. Remind me to send the Zoom this afternoon.
Okay, added to voicemail.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
I don't think I've met you yet. Hi, I'm Rebecca.
I'm Tommy. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm on Channel 11.
Cool.
Are you with Fox?
Mhm.
Okay.
Awesome. Have you
Yeah.
reached out to the other two yet?
Yeah, I reached out to Mosby too, so all three.
And Gunner?
Hannah is in court, so they're gonna send me a statement, and then Bates hasn't got back to me, and then I don't think Mosby's gonna get back to me. But yeah, we shall see.
My mic's off, Kyle.
You hear me? You gotta check real quick. I hear someone.
I'm gonna check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So weird. Is yours on?
Yeah, I think I turned it on.
I hear yours. That's what I hear.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm on the wrong frequency. Ooh.
No, you're on the.
Oh,
It's
mate.
fine. It's just we have the same one apparently. Oh, the constellation's outstanding. Is that what it's called? Constellation? Constitution. The old massive ship. Sailboat.
Are you sure it's not just a pirate boat out or
I hate those.
the pirate cruises?
Out pirating?
Yeah, out pirating.
I thought it was Constellation.
No, the Constellation is docked in the Antarctica. They're not taking that shit out to just sail.
Why not? Isn't that what it was built for?
I don't know, Kyle. Hold them accountable and find out.
Their story tomorrow.
Yeah. If we get half their story done today for tomorrow, we can do two.
Perfect.
You can do that one.
Awesome. I don't know.
Hey.
Right.
After this, I'll just need you to turn that on.
You want me to turn off now?
We're going to start a Facebook Live a few minutes early, just to get started.
Okay. How are you today?
I'm
You.
great. There's a lot of people you couldn't ask it.
We've already had our conversations.
Did you see how blood water turnout is so far?
It's crazy.
Literally nobody is voting.
if we're both here, why not? But I don't really think I'm gonna use myself. Right? For this?
Confirm.
Well, Dutch endorsed West today.
Did it?
Dutch.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Another press conference we didn't get invited to.
For real?
We never do for him anymore.
Really?
Blacklisted.
I feel like you guys let it go.
Color me shocked.
Alright guys, I'm going live here on Facebook. I just
Thank you.
Hi everyone at home. I just wanted to give you guys a couple minutes notice that we're going to be starting shortly the press conference on our plan and our pledge to get squeegee workers off the streets of Baltimore in 90 days of taking office. Stay tuned, we'll be back in a few minutes. So is Jay-Z and BAL here?
BAL is here.
Jay-Z is not.
I believe so.
We're gonna. I couldn't figure out who we were waiting for, so. Guys, we're just going to give one more station a couple more minutes. Again, we're going to be here talking about the tragedy that is unfolding on our streets with respect to squeegee workers and our pledge and our plan to get squeegee workers off the streets in 90 days. Bear with us, we'll be starting in just a few minutes.
Yeah, at least shoot her a text.
This phone is ringing.
My phone is ringing. I thought that's what do not disturb is for. Can everybody still hear us? A little thumbs up from people who can hear us. Great. We're going to give one more camera 1 more minute. Move the frame forward. Move this forward. Be careful. Let's see. Yep. Can you call your name for your phone?
Yeah, I'm checking the station to be checking.
I think you guys would want us to wait if you were running a few minutes late. Please.
It's fine.
Are they coming?
If they are coming, they're just like, just get into the public session and actually move them.
That's great. All right, folks, we're going to get started. I will. It's already live. Thanks for your patience at home. Good morning, everyone. Over the past few decades in Baltimore, there has been a chronic problem, a chronic challenge that city politicians have talked about, they have complained about, they have committed to doing something about, and yet year after year, decade after decade, nothing seems to change. The squeegee workers on the street corners of Baltimore City have always been a subject of conversation. For some, they are young, aspiring entrepreneurs that are at least not selling drugs. And so for that, we congratulate them. For others, they are a deterrent to folks coming into the city. They are a source of fear and anxiety, and they are, at times, dangerous. Now, the truth is always often in the middle. The reality is that we treat squeegee workers like they are one monolithic unit when they are anything but. But last week, the inevitable happened. We all knew it was a powder keg waiting to be ignited by a spark, because we allow thousands of these encounters every day at major intersections across the city, where drivers, some enthusiastically, some anxiously, are asked to give money to young men, and sometimes older men, in exchange for doing what your windshield wipers do. Last week, it went from a nuisance, the subject of assaults, sometimes quite violent ones, to a fatality. And the tragic reality is that what happened last week was as horrific as it was inevitable. Whether it was a squeegee boy killing a driver or a driver killing a squeegee boy, it is our city's failure that has allowed this to happen. It is our collective reluctance to do anything meaningful that has allowed this to happen. Well, enough is enough. That has been the mantra of this campaign and my public position on so many subjects. It is time to do something real. It is time to do something substantive. It is time to do something concrete about this challenge. And so today, I am unveiling our plan and making my pledge to get the squeegee workers off the streets of Baltimore within 90 days of taking office. Some of you will say this is the ambitious boast of a politician seeking office. What I'm here to do is to explain in exquisite detail what exactly we have to do to get that done. But let me summarize it first. I'm pledging to get the squeegee workers off the streets of Baltimore in 90 days. During the first 30 days, the state's attorney's office will lead an effort to identify and engage the individuals that are working on these corners, specify exactly what they need, and then connect them to services. In the second 30 days, we will use the laws that are on the books to justify confiscating the contraband that they use to engage in this activity. And in the third 30 days, if they have not gotten the message, if they have not taken advantage of the opportunities we have provided them, we will enforce the laws that are on the book. We will bring charges and appropriately move those cases forward. In many instances, it will be an opportunity to use the power of the law as a lever to get them into the apprenticeships and job opportunities that they perhaps should have taken the first time. Our 5-part plan builds on 3 guiding principles. The first guiding principle is enforce the law. The second is to connect individuals with the services and treatment and resources that they need. And the third one is don't treat squeegee workers like they're all the same. They are not. I want to make sure that the folks at home understand the lay of the land. I get this question all the time. Squeegee workers themselves often ponder and are confused as to why they're not allowed to do what they are not allowed to do. This doesn't require a new state law. It doesn't require a new city charter amendment. It requires us to enforce the laws that are on the books. So let's be clear. Can you guys see this, or do I need to kill the light for a minute?
I can see it.
47-4 of our city code makes it clear that it is unlawful, it is illegal to engage in soliciting from any operator or occupant of a motor vehicle that is in traffic on a public street, whether in exchange for cleaning the vehicle's windows or otherwise. This is not just a general prohibition of squeegee workers. This is a general this is not just a general prohibition against panhandling. It is a specific prohibition against doing the work that squeegee workers engage in every day. Sammy, why don't we just keep it on there, that screen for a minute. And this law has good reasons, because this is not just about discouraging activity that looks bad. It is a source of tragedy. In 1986, we can go back decades, is the first example of a squeegee boy being killed. A 14-year-old boy being hit and dragged under a truck. Kurt Schmoke was mayor back then. Every couple of years, there were additional stories. One after the other, our team found examples and illustrations of assaults, of anger boiling up to violence, to nuisance complaints. And over the years, city politicians have tried everything. The commissioner suggested that we stop giving them money, blaming the commuters. Police patrols were sent out. We started a squeegee corps. The downtown partnership offered to try to engage them. Every couple of years, whether it's political season or because something has happened to precipitate it, our city politicians make proposals and make plans, and none of them, not one, has worked. The thing that is absent from every plan, going as far back as we have seen, is a willingness to enforce the law. Sammy. Back on me. Let me say that again. The thing that is missing from every one of these plans and proposals, every strategy and effort in the last few decades, is a willingness to enforce the law. The law is there for a reason. We have to use measure and humanity to decide when and how to prosecute these cases and when to bring charges forward, but we have to follow the law. The first part of the plan will make sure that the young men who need and want employment opportunities are given a chance to do it. We know that they're not one monolithic group. Some of them are young men, entrepreneurs, who would love to have a job with steady wages and health insurance. I met a couple years ago, and we connected them with Tony Foreman's restaurant. One of them lasted a couple weeks, one of them lasted a couple years. But they had a chance to learn skills and go to work with a schedule. But some squeegee workers appreciate the fact that they can come when they want, leave when they want, do what they want. They don't report to anyone, they don't have a supervisor, and they don't have to pay taxes on the cash they get immediately. Those individuals may not be suitable, may not be ready yet for a 9-to-5 job, a 10-to-4 job that has a supervisor. So we want to also, and this is the second part of the plan, create alternative employment opportunities. One example would be the state's attorney's office, again, forging partnerships with gas stations. In New Jersey, if you stop on the turnpike, somebody pumps your gas for you. It's required under law. We're going to make this an option so that if somebody actually is on the phone and doesn't want to get out of the car, they can give a thumbs up to a squeegee worker, a former squeegee worker, have them come over and pump their gas or fill their tires with air or wash their windows in exchange for tips. And we will give good incentives to the gas stations for how to do this. Maybe full service with a squeegee worker will cost a little bit less than self-service to encourage people to engage with these kids, to give them a chance to develop something that is safe and responsible. The third part of the strategy recognizes that some of these are not squeegee boys, they're squeegee men. They're victims of addiction who need not employment opportunities or enforcement, they need help, they need resources, they need treatment. And we will work with the treatment centers all across the city and the region to find and place these individuals to get them off the streets. They're not making $30 to $70 an hour so at the end of the day they can take it home to their families, which some of these squeegee workers are. They're working to get $40 so they can go around the corner and score their next hit. And they need to be treated very differently than the first category. Finally, there is a third category, a category of squeegee workers that will only respond to enforcement. The two individuals that were carrying guns, one a BB gun and another a gun that was used to kill a driver later that day, they're not looking for employment opportunities at Tony Foreman's restaurant. They're not necessarily going to come and volunteer to work at a gas station for tips. They don't need addiction treatment. They need to understand that there are laws that are going to be enforced in Baltimore City. We will start with a strategy that was pioneered in Toronto and New York in the 1980s and 1990s. Because it is against the law, police are entitled to use their police powers to confiscate the contraband related to that crime. We could do this for dirt bikes. We do it for drug paraphernalia when we hit a house with a search warrant. We seize the contraband related to the crime. It could be a car that's used as a getaway car in a crime. It could be a stash house. We can seize the whole house. Here we are going to seize, we're going to confiscate the contraband related to this particular crime. We're going to hopefully signal to them that this is unlawful, that we are going to take actions. We're going to raise the cost of doing business. We're going to make it a little bit harder for them to do this activity that is dangerous. That was, again, the second phase. But in the final phase, if after a month of giving them opportunities and treatment, if after a month of confiscating their contraband and signaling and making it clear that there is a law and we're going to enforce it, if there are still squeegee workers that are out there, we will then do what police and prosecutors do, which is enforce the law, bring charges in appropriate ways. Some of these young men will have no records, and it'll be a terrific opportunity to divert them through, for example, the District Court Reentry Project, to, as a condition of probation, join an apprenticeship, start a job. And if they complete that apprenticeship and start the job that we will make available to them, the probation will be lifted, the charges will be dropped, and we'll expunge their record. And if they don't, and for those individuals that are carrying drugs, carrying guns, they will be prosecuted for the crimes that they are committing in addition to the squeegee work that is being conducted. I want to be very clear. This is not the biggest problem in Baltimore. It ranks below the carjackings and killings. It ranks below the open-air drug markets and the armed robberies, but it is becoming a defining feature of Baltimore City, and we have to do something about it. The reality is that we have pretended like we're doing a favor to these squeegee workers when it is a profound disservice to them. It feeds this culture of low expectations that these young black men, overwhelmingly, can't do better, can't do more, that they don't deserve better. We wouldn't want our children begging for tips in exchange for washing windows, darting through traffic, putting themselves at risk of either being hit by a car like the 14-year-old was in 1986, or engaging in an altercation that would escalate, where either they are the victim or they are the perpetrator of a terrible, terrible, violent crime. Baltimore City deserves better. And I want to make it very clear. These are not the words of a politician. This is not the pledge of someone on the campaign trail. It is a promise and a commitment and a plan by a public servant who has devoted himself to fighting crime. I am telling the people of Baltimore that within 90 days of taking office, we will have these squeegee workers off the streets. 30 days of giving them a chance to engage with treatment and job opportunities. 30 days of sending a clear signal that this is against the law and confiscating the contraband related to their activities. And then 30 days of old-fashioned enforcement. Humanely, constitutionally, with an eye to the kind of crimes they are committing, but enforcement. Bringing charges and enforcing the laws that are on the books. I hope people understand that we are the first campaign, the only campaign, that is talking about this in direct terms. I hope people understand that the reason why we are doing this is I'm as frustrated with my opponents as I am with city politicians for meandering around the topic, talking about 5-year and 10-year plans when people are at risk now, the kids and the drivers. We can do better. And I'm looking forward to getting to this work. Frankly, the day we win the primary, between then and the general election, we'll already start forging these partnerships, laying the groundwork, because that's what leaders do. They plan and they prepare. They put out concrete, detailed strategies. But we're getting these squeegee workers off the streets, one way or the other, within 90 days of getting into office. I'll take some questions, and we'll take questions obviously from the reporters here, but also from folks online if necessary.
It seems like right now part of the reason that we're not seeing enforcement is a lack of police officers. So who's going to be going out and doing this plan and giving the charges if we don't have the staff to do it?
Great question. Let me be clear. We all know we're down 600, 700 police officers. I've been talking about this for literally years. But we have police deployed to these corners right now. Yesterday, I took a photo of a police car with sirens on, stationed at the base of President Street, monitoring squeegee workers squeegeeing cars. There is a car parked at the base of 414 Light Street for the last 4 days because of the fatality that happened there before. So we are foolishly and unsustainably deploying police resources to these corners now, but we're doing it after the fact. We're not doing it in a sustainable way. That's the first answer. The second thing is we have lots of options for law enforcement. If BPD is overwrought with other work, we have the Sheriff's Office, we have the Maryland State Police, and we have special police officers that can be designated through these enforcement agencies. We list these options, and this is getting a little into the weeds, we list these options because we don't need a platoon of 50 FBI agents. We need 2 or 3 dedicated officers or sheriffs or Maryland State Police troopers to make sure that this work is done. And be clear, Rebecca, the first stage is engaging them and individually coming up with things that would work for them. frankly, that's the more resource-intensive part. That's the work that is going to require partners from all across the city to figure out exactly what a particular squeegee worker can do and will do, and connecting them with that job opportunity. The second phase of confiscating and the third phase of enforcing the law will require it, but I believe that if we don't dedicate resources to this, the city will continue to deteriorate, people will continue to be afraid, and these workers and drivers will be putting themselves at profound risk.
Go ahead, sorry.
Driving here, we saw an officer parked with his lights on at the corner of President and Lombard. It was there last week. It's there all the time. I see it all the time. Do you think the mayor has directed BPD leadership to tell officers not to enforce these laws?
I don't know what they have said behind closed doors. I wish I did. I think they ought to be transparent about what directives they're giving. But let's be clear. The state's attorney has pledged not to prosecute these cases. How frustrating is it to know that even if you did enforce the law, the charges would only be dropped minutes later, and that's happening as a matter of policy. Until the state's attorney sends a signal that these laws will be taken seriously, that they will be enforced, it's very difficult to expect police to do the work that they are frankly charged and paid to do.
I understand it's not going to be the first option, but once you do get into month 3 and these kids are being charged, how is that going to work? What are they going to be charged with?
Yeah.
Then is it going to be, if they're standing out there, are they going to be charged, or do they have to commit a crime? At what point does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, the law is very specific. The deputy sheriff or the Maryland State police trooper or the police patrol officer would need to observe them soliciting money from a person in the lane of traffic. Frankly, we would likely put up cameras to observe it. It's not happening on every intersection. We know that there's 7 or so intersections where this happens every day. We all know them, right? North Avenue and 83, President Street down from 83, Conway near the harbor, and at the top of Conway where the stadium is. There's only certain intersections in Baltimore that have the volume of traffic and the light traffic pattern that allows this to be profitable. They're not doing it at every corner. They're doing it at very specific corners. Those 7 corners or so will have cameras and other resources to gather the evidence. And then once we see them doing this, we will first, in that second month, indicate to them that they can't do this, and we'll confiscate the contraband to make it harder for them to do it again the next hour. And if in the third month they haven't gotten the clear signal that we're going to make it very difficult for them to engage in this illegal and dangerous activity, we will in fact work with our law enforcement partners to bring charges.
No one's been able to do this. You're saying that you're going to be able to do it in 90 days. What makes you so confident that you'll be able to get that done?
I'm confident because I've seen other cities do it. I'm confident because people years ago said you couldn't get murders below 200, and we did it. Both in my lived experience as a prosecutor, in the experiences and examples I see all across this country, I know that what seems impossible can be done. It was Nelson Mandela who said, they will tell you it is impossible until it is done. People tell you that these problems, the squeegee workers, that addressing it feels impossible. I'm here to tell you it is not. I promise you it is not. I pledge to you that within 90 days you will see a dramatic difference all across this city. And by the way, we've outlined 5 steps. We're welcoming additional ideas. I've heard terrific additional opportunities to have them work at car washes, to have a regulated place where they can do it, to make sure that we're identifying the ones that need treatment. I think there's a lot of additional strategies, but for the purposes of today, I wanted to outline 5 concrete things that we are committing to do.
For the treatment services, who would pay for that?
Treatment actually oftentimes is covered by federal and state insurance. So a lot of the individuals that come into treatment centers, they do have insurance options available through Medicaid, for example. But if we need to invest in those treatment options, we absolutely will do that. We will push the mayor, we will push the governor, we will push the state and local assemblies to make sure that resources are available for treatment. Because if we don't have enough resources for treatment generally, if the 150, 200 squeegee workers are presenting an undue burden, we have a bigger problem. I mean, the number of victims of addiction in the city is estimated between 12 and 15,000. It's not the squeegee workers, the subset of them that are victims of addiction, that's going to break the back of the system. That is a broader issue, but I do think there's concrete solutions.
There's a lot of pushback in the community from say, these squeegee kids are part of the culture. This is Baltimore. Yes, they may be breaking the law technically, but they're just out here trying to get $1. What do you say to them if you want to sweep them all off the corner?
Yeah, look, I don't know if there is still nostalgia for it, but we have learned through our city's history that it's dangerous. What happened on Thursday was the most violent, but it was not the only violent interaction. There were 2 examples last year of gunshots going off because of interactions between drivers and squeegee workers. We have countless examples that have been covered by the news of squeegee workers breaking the windshield wipers, assaulting the car, assaulting the individuals, leaving people with bruises that have required hospitalization, threatening to kill them. All of them, one after the other. I think one of our state senators had an altercation hours before this one. This is not something that is sustainable. And so for those who think, what a quaint feature of Baltimore culture, I tell you, we're paying too high a price for preserving that nostalgia. People are putting themselves and drivers at risk. People are afraid. And I'm not trying to be popular with everyone. I'm not trying to say what some subset of Baltimore City wants to hear. I want to get the job done. And what I hear in every community, west, east, north, south, black, white, what I hear from every community is that we can do better for these kids, that this is dangerous for them and for the drivers. And Baltimore, which is already known for being a murder capital of the country, cannot have another set of headlines like we had last week in the New York Times and the Washington Post about a driver being killed by a squeegee worker in the heart of downtown. I saw people walking to the Orioles Stadium that day. What we should be talking about is an unprecedented winning streak, but nobody can talk about that. This entire weekend, every conversation I had at every polling station and in every neighborhood was about the risk and the danger of squeegee workers. Any other questions on this? Will, are there any questions online that we haven't covered?
No questions.
Okay. Thank you, folks at home. We'll be unveiling the documents that correspond to this plan online and through social media very shortly. Early voting has started. I think you guys know how important this election is. Voter turnout is down, and that means people are not appreciating how critical this race is, or they're voting by mail-in, which is terrific as well. Either way, whatever approach you take, please educate yourself, inform yourself, pull out your pencil or get in the car and find a way to vote. July 19th is the election next Tuesday. We're just over a week away. Early voting continues through this Thursday. Please tell your friends if you've already voted that a vote for Thiru is a vote for change, and it's a vote for actually getting something done. 90 days. And I promise you, every reporter here and everyone at home, if on day 91 we have a bunch of squeegee workers out there, or a month later there's a bunch of squeegee workers out there, they will play this recording back to me and ask whether I broke a campaign promise. I promise you I will not, and you'll hold me accountable if I do. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Will.
Mackenzie, Bates will be in studio at 12:30. Do you want me to ask him anything? Yeah.